Tribbles are not dangerous.
Okay, welcome to the Collector's Corner, a supplemental portion of the Divine Treasury podcast. My name is Mike, and joined with me, as always, is my co-host, Jamie. And today, we have the opportunity to sit down and talk with Jay and Kaylia Zawacki. They are from Science Division, the makers of the first interactive Tribble that's trilling into my microphone while I'm talking. And that is mine. Well, I say that's mine because I'm the one that paid for it. It's really my daughter Emily's Tribble.
It's definitely not yours. Definitely
I know.
Not.
It came out of my bank account, though. So...
Still not yours.
So welcome, Jay and Kaylia. Appreciate you stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having us on. We're excited to be here.
Yeah, this is a lot of fun. It's always so fun when we get to see somebody interact with somebody and they brought their Tribble, because it's just a crazy experience to be like, we made that and you have
Yep. Well, as I look across the room, I see one of the Vegas cards hanging up on one of my cork boards. And I believe I have it held up with the pixel art of the Tribbles as well.
Nice.
So, well, my cork board is all pins with a few exceptions. So the exception of having the card being held up by the pixel pin, that had to go up there.
We had a lot of fun making those cards.
Oh, that was so much fun.
So
no, I was gonna say what. I mean, I know your history obviously with Tribbles, but what got you in the idea of making the world's first interactive Tribble?
Yeah, it started as me. I mean, I as a kid wanted a Tribble so badly after watching that episode. I mean, I've mentioned before on shows like this that, you know, my dad had every episode on VHS tape, and we would watch them all as kids. And he started us with stuff like Tribbles, because that's how you get your two young daughters into Star Trek, and it worked. And so I always wanted one. And the best I could do was grab some faux fur, like many kids over the years, and create my own. It was terribly stitched. It was horrible, but I loved her very much, and I named her Snowball. But at the time, nobody was making one. You know, there wasn't one that felt like it was real. And I just kind of kept waiting, you know, as technology and for somebody to do it. And then we kind of started joking about maybe making one. And my dad has a dad sense of humor. And he was like, it would be awesome if you could like make it scream at people on command. And then it had to have an app, because that was going to be how you triggered that. And so it just kind of like, we would get together and hang out with my dad, and Jay and Dad and I would kind of throw out what ifs. And then one day, you know, we just kind of realized Arduino electronics are open source. So
it's amazing what you can find on the internet for learning how to do new skills.
Yeah. I mean, and I had done the like play with Radio Shack electronics kind of thing as a kid with my dad, but I didn't really have any actual knowledge of it. And so we just kind of watched tutorials for different parts and got them to work together. And I used the MIT app builder. It was a free software where you can like rough up an app real quick. So we just kind of like built one in our living room because we wanted to. And that was how they came into being.
Yeah,
it was never to sell it. It was just like, I wanted a Tribble, and I wanted it to be a real Tribble. And then I wanted to make it scream on command because Dad wanted that. So we just added it.
We thought it would be great if you could set it on something to guard your stuff. And
it all just kind of, we were just messing around.
That's how most good ideas start up anyways. So what was the color of the first? I know you said Snowball was when you were a kid, but what was the first one you guys actually made, that prototype? What was the color of it?
It was this awful, scratchy, brownie faux fur because it was what Joanne's had. And actually the very first one was a mess because I had never really cut faux fur before, and it ends up looking like a bowl cut if you don't, you have to like brush it up out of the way because otherwise you just chop it off. And so I made it and I like showed it to my family, and my mom was like, cool. Yeah. You could do better.
It was like Mo Howard from the Three Stooges.
Yeah, what did she name him? And she said he looked like Andy Warhol. So Tribble was named Andy because we also liked that Star Trek always kind of pulls from like artists and pop culture and stuff. And so we thought that was really appropriate. And so then I made the next one and did a much better job cutting the fur out. And so then we named that one Jackson after Jackson Pollock. So then we had Andy and Jackson, who were our two brown Tribbles. And then we made a white one that was like crazy fuzzy. And I thought it looked like the abominable snowman from Rudolph. So we named it Bumball, like a ball of fur, because it was a bumble in the Rudolph movie. And then we found some red fabric and we made a red one and named it Nichelle, because I have always, she's always been one of my childhood heroes. So.
Nice. So you come up with this idea, you actually get a working product. So what led you down the road from just, I want this, my dad wants me to make it, to, hey, maybe other people would like this?
How did we?
That was, I mean, pretty much as you just described, we got a prototype working, and like once it was in, the ball of fur, and like it felt like a Tribble, and we just showed it to one of our friends and, like a few people around, and they're like, this is cool. Are you going to like try to make them and sell them? And we're like, nah, that seems ridiculous. And then at some point we were like, well, maybe not.
Well, I started just doing some research into like companies that consulted on that kind of just in terms of like, how do we even find out how to go about doing something like that? And there was a company in Connecticut where the gentleman who ran it had worked at various, large toy companies. And they offered a service where I think it was for like $75 or something like that. You could show them what you made under a non-disclosure agreement, which is less necessary for us because it's CBS owns the license, so nobody can just like make a Tribble without their license anyway. But we went and we talked about it, and they, were like, this is actually really cool. And so then
we're a lot further along than most people, I think, who went to them. It seemed a lot more like someone has an idea and then they would in-house like work prototypes and that kind of thing. Yeah. So when we came with essentially a working, fully realized like this is what it does, they were pretty impressed by it, and then they got us in touch with a manufacturer.
They did, but their suggestion at the time was find someone who's already licensed, because licenses are really hard to get, and see if you can like work with them, either sell them the idea or partner. So we actually started reaching out to other entities that had licenses for various Star Trek products. And there was a company that was really interested in picking it up. And then I think because they hadn't done app development before, we worked with them and talked with them about a whole bunch of stuff. And they said, get the numbers for what it would cost to develop the app. And when we came back and we're really talking about the app, they kind of went, we don't really want to get into that technology side of stuff. But they had already made the connection with CBS. So it was like, while we were talking to this company about the Tribbles, we all of a sudden got this email that was like, the licensing director for CBS is going to be in New York for the toy fair. Do you guys want to just come to New York and like, we'll meet for tapas and talk about your Tribbles? And we were kind of like, what? And so we put the Tribbles in the car and literally sat down over dinner and showed her what we had made, and she was just like, tell me what you need, these are awesome and I want one.
Sweet.
Yeah, so when the other company decided not to pursue it, she was the one that said, well, we'll give you the license if you want to do it. And we're just kind of like, oh,
okay,
that's a big project, but I don't think we can say no.
Right.
And that was February before last. So not quite 2 years ago.
Yeah. And then it took a year to kind of figure out, great, how do you start a business? How do you do all of these things and get everything in place? How do you start raising capital? And, like that, we got through all of that. And so that's why in 2019, then we were debuting them as available for pre-order at Star Trek Las Vegas.
And then earlier this year we got our supply in and started shipping out. What was it, March?
I think they arrived late
Or
March and we started
April.
shipping in April.
Yeah.
I think we got ours in May, I believe. So yeah. So the name that you selected for your Tribble as a young girl really became an omen for how quickly your business was going to go. Just that snowball effect.
Things just kind of kept happening. And I don't think at any point in the process we were actually like, this is going to work out and we're going to end up, being those people that sell app-enabled Tribbles. In fact, it felt like all along the way we would get to the next step and it would be like, oh, that's too hard. Like, I don't know how to do that, or we'll never overcome that. And I think I tell people that we essentially just willed the project into being, because we would just get to the point, it was both of us. We would just be like, we are going to figure this out because we are so close and nobody gets this shot and we are not going to waste it.
Yeah, there's so many steps from getting to idea to production and licensing and everything. I mean, hundreds of steps. Like I don't even think we could remember all of them at this point. But all of them so vitally important that at that moment, if it didn't work, the whole project would be dead in the water forever. There's so many little things that can happen that you just like, well, that's the end of this idea. And so some of it was luck, but a lot of it was just like not taking no for an answer. And like, we're going to keep going until it's not possible anymore.
Yeah.
So, I mean, did at any point, I know you said, obviously it's quite a process, very lengthy. At any point, did it get so difficult that you thought of abandoning the idea, or was it pretty, I don't want to say smooth sailing, but what was it like for you guys?
Sailing. At one point, it was looking like there were going to be massive tariffs for importing products. And it was looking like it could potentially double our cost to import our products once they were made. And so that got to a point where it was like friends and family. I mean, our family has been so supportive, and we had kind of gathered everything we could financially to support it. And we ended up taking out a loan, and it was like, if it's going to cost us an extra, tens of thousands, it's just not going to work. And luckily that didn't end up being the case and we were able to move forward. But that was the biggest, it was like things that you run into. I think we just took a very Star Trek philosophy to it. Like, this is a problem. This is a problem that has a solution. We're going to find the solution that works for us. And so we were just, we would just do that. Be like, okay, I don't know how to get a barcode created. Great. I'm going to look up the entity that I have to find to do that. Awesome. They gave me the code. How do I turn it into a barcode? And actually, people in the industry are very, very generous. So other people who have been through the process before, all along the way, were willing to reach out. Like, they helped us with stuff. So there was actually a woman who works for another company doing their barcode creation and graphics and everything. And she made them for us. It was just like, here you go. And it was that way all along. It was like, I don't know how to do this. I don't know how to do this. But somebody else that we knew, who we had spoken to in the industry, knew somebody who then was willing to help us out because they had been where we were at some point in the past. And so it was kind of like the community of people who had done this before that also just made it possible.
Nice.
So I'm going to say your advertising on your site is some of the most creative use of video that I've ever seen. And I think it's awesome. So how do you get into some of these scenarios?
Oh, man.
Advertising is one of the trickiest things. I mean, like, there's a lot of things we didn't know going into this, but like how to advertise a ball of fluff, on the internet is not one of the ones that we anticipated as a challenge, and it's certainly one of the biggest ones.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of the wild kind of videos have come out of, like, oh, well, we can't hand them to people anymore for them to play with them, so we're gonna just have to entertain folks. But I think it started with the Tribbles of Vegas postcards. So we were heading to Vegas, and we knew we needed something to hand out because it was a bummer that we had them to show to people, but people couldn't take them with them. So we were like, how do we have something we can give people? And, we do theater, so we have access to all kinds of lights and props, and we can make props and, whatever. And I think we actually just went and pulled a bunch of stuff. We were like, okay, let's do the Tribbles of Vegas, because getting to Tribble in Vegas is funny. It's cute. Like, we're going to do Tribbles like out on a spree in Vegas. And so we created a list of like scenarios that we thought were maybe kind of stereotypical, and we had never been to Vegas.
Yeah.
So these are two people who have never been to Vegas trying to create quote unquote stereotypical Vegas situations for us to put the Tribbles into, to put onto postcards to hand out to people at the convention. And so we did an Elvis Tribble, there's like a wedding chapel, couple of Tribbles, there's a showgirl Tribble, and all kinds of like boa feathers. We just had an amazing time with that photo shoot. And so that's why we created the hashtag Tribbles in Trouble. And we will just periodically dress Tribbles up in crazy outfits because we have, random stuff sitting around, and we're like, oh, what if we made a Tribble that was doing this? Or we reenacted Arena with a Tribble. I had a little Goren figure, because we talked about me collecting Gorens, and I put a Goren up on a rock in the backyard and put the Tribble down below, and it's like the Goren and the Tribble are facing off. And we basically just kind of like anything that is entertaining to us. And we're like, what if we make it and we take a picture of it and we light it. Jay's made a whole collection of Tribble props and weaponry.
Yeah, we did. For Halloween and all of October, we committed to doing a new Tribble costume per day.
Every day.
Which was an undertaking. I'm proud of it. We have quite a collection of some.
Our like business meetings that month was like, what are we going to dress these up as? Where are the pieces coming from?
We had, like,
how are we going to light it?
And like, all right, how can I build this kind of thing?
That's a fun business expense.
I don't even think we spent just a little. We just spent a little bit, but most of it we made. Had it.
It was cardboard and glue and paint and scrap lumber,
house plants.
Yeah,
we just like create these ridiculous
Halloween decorations that we had around, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Then we did a fun photo shoot with the Tribbles where we took them to the Ticonderoga set tour. Mm-hmm. And so I sewed little Tribble costumes, or uniforms. So we had the traditional TOS colors that the Tribbles sit in. So we had like all sorts of like scenarios that we set up all around. They were so generous with their time. They were like, yeah, whatever. If a group is coming through, let's move to a different room. All right, let's go, into the conference room now. We need Tribbles there.
We'd go take a picture. We'd set up a picture and we'd take it. And then we'd have to go scurry and hide around the corner so people didn't see us like making a mess on the set. But we did like a reenactment of Day of the Dove. So they're Klingon Tribbles fighting with engineering Tribbles. And basically we just have fun and then take pictures of it and use it as our advertising.
That's so great. So you guys then developed a relationship with the Trek Geeks network where you've been able to advertise there. So how did that come about?
I first met them in Ticonderoga at their convention. So they had a little booth. I think you weren't able to be there, but you were in contact with them via Twitter. You're like, hey, go talk to my husband. He's over there across the room with the Tribbles. So we just had a chat, on Sunday before they were packing up to leave. And, at that time it was still the prototypes. And so, it was just like, really nice guys. And we started listening to their podcasts and, we just kind of were in contact with them.
Yeah.
Then they helped us do a live event early in our process.
Yes. Bill hosted a live event. So it was so funny because Jay and I were never social media people. We were those people that like had a Facebook but didn't post anything. Because we were like, if you are my friend, you know what's going on in my life anyways. I don't need to put it on the internet. And all of a sudden, I became the social media manager for our small business. I was like, I don't know how to Twitter, and so like I'm sitting there trying to like build this presence. And so we're kind of going like, we need to meet everybody that we can. And so we started kind of trying to talk to podcasters, and also just be like, okay, I don't know what I'm doing, but hi, Trek Geeks, we'd love to meet with you. Would you like to talk about our triples, please? And so they're just really, really nice guys. And it's kind of the same way. I think that's the thing, that the biggest thing that we have gotten out of the experience is friendships and relationships. The tribbles kind of just become the means of forming a new relationship. So we have friends. All of a sudden, we went from people who had no online presence to people who have friends all over the world that we legitimately care about and interact with. And the tribbles has kind of become the vehicle for that. So it's like, hey, I have tribble, please talk to me. Now let's be friends. And it works really, really well. And we have met so many amazing people in the last year in the Trek community. And, with down the line, we're not making tribbles anymore. Those friends aren't going anywhere. So I think that has been the big success of this, because when we decided to make it a business, the whole thing was like, we want to share this with other people. Let's build this business because that's what we have to do to get the license or whatever. But the goal was to share the tribbles and meet people who like Star Trek. And we have just been blown away by how generous and friendly people have been. And we just, have all these friends all over the place now.
Mm-hmm.
That's so great. So now I'm going to ask you this question. When are you making the world's first interactive Goren? What's some other products you're going to be doing?
So
we need to talk about a Goren.
The Goren has been discussed.
There's nothing in the works.
There isn't. Yeah, no.
So
don't latch onto that.
It would be really fun to do that.
Yeah, I think it was when last at Star Trek Las Vegas, CBS asked us to do a fan-led panel. So we did a presentation on kind of what it was like, which that was the first oh my gosh, we're part of Star Trek moment, was like, we're doing a panel at Star Trek Las Vegas. We've never even been to Star Trek Las Vegas. So that was huge. But then one of the questions that it was actually, surprise. Yes. So actually it was Kira, our friend Kira, who is now our friend, but wasn't at the time, was dressed in a Goren costume and asked the question, like, what would you want to do next? I was like, this is going to sound really lame because you're literally in a Goren costume. But my answer legitimately would have been that I would like to make Goren. And we have been friends ever since. I think actually we met Kira prior to that. It was earlier that morning. There was a news crew doing a spot on Star Trek Las Vegas, and they had asked us to bring our tribbles. And they had no idea what a tribble was, but they were like, this is cool. It looks Star Trek-y. So would you come talk about them? And we had to be there at 4 a.m. to meet. And
so it was a 7 a.m. newscast, but get everyone there.
So we're sitting there, pre-coffee, so tired with just, it's us and a tribble.
Starbucks wasn't open yet.
And New England jet lag.
Yeah. And there's this Goren sitting next to the big Delta shield in the lobby. And I'm like, it's a Goren! And so, and I had no idea how conventions worked. We hadn't done the hey, can I take your picture kind of thing yet.
It was day 2 or something. The morning.
I was like, do you think the Goren would hold my tribble? And Jay's like, go ask the Goren if they will hold your tribble. And so I walked up and I was, hi, you look awesome. Do you want to hold my tribble and can I take a picture of it and put it on the internet? Because we make them. And they were like, yes, it's fine. And that was the moment we became friends. And then they asked the question and that just kind of solidified it. And so now Kira is one of our favorite members of the Trek community. They're pretty great.
Cool. So why don't you tell us how people can get themselves their own interactive tribble?
Yes, you can head to our website. It is sciencediv.com.
Awesome. Well, unless Jamie has any other questions.
No, I do have a confession, though. Okay. I actually just bought a tribble about 2 minutes ago. So,
well, there you go. There is
should be coming very shortly.
I can go in and give you your $5 off, so we're all good.
Nice.
I got you.
Yeah, I think I missed that code 2 minutes ago.
Well,
we'll get it handled.
We so much appreciate the two of you coming on and discussing this great small business that you've put into play. I think we're all very happy that we can all own our little slice of interactive Trek. And I think we're all looking forward to the interactive Goren that's coming in 2030, probably.
That's going to take some time.
Yeah.
It's been a real pleasure. Thank you so much for having us on. It's been a great night.
I've had a lot of fun. It's always just a ton of fun to talk to people who love Trek. You know, like I said, we've just met amazing folks this way. And you guys are two of those people that we feel really fortunate to have had the chance to just kind of like geek out with a little bit.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that as well.
Yeah, same here, guys. I'm very excited about adding my Tribble to my extensive collection of Star Trek things.
A bunch of different colors, because then Jamie will have to get all of the colors so he can complete
you laugh, but that's actually what happened. You know, it's bad. Don't do that.
The Jamie Tribble.
Yeah.
Any of these ever made.
If you make a purple one, I definitely would get that one, because my drum set's purple, and
purple is a great color.
Yeah,
purple
to be into the purple Tribble.
Yeah, do a purple one. Let me know.
Well, and pink would be animated series. So
we have actually talked about that in the past too. Yeah.
So as we mentioned at the outset, the Collector's Corner is going to be a supplemental episode to the Divine Treasury. It's our hope that as we go further on with our podcasts, we'll have the opportunity to talk to other small businesses such as Science Division, but also experts in the field of collecting, people such as autograph authenticators, card graders, things of that nature. So look forward to having you all join us again here on the Collector's Corner.
Music for the Divine Treasury is provided by 5 Year Mission. They're writing an original song for each episode of Star Trek. Hear more of their music at 5yearmission.net. The Divine Treasury is a production of Coconut Media Works. Executive producers Bill Smith and Dan Davidson. For more great Star Trek discussion, discover the other shows of the Trek Geeks podcast network at trekgeeks.com, or find us in Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or your favorite podcast app.